And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. This is the OSR Tabletop live stream with myself, DM Bluddworth, and I have the great privilege of interviewing the creative team of Mystic Days, who has a special edition, the Clyde Caldwell edition of their game hitting Kickstarter. And I just wanted to bring all four of them on so that they can talk about this project, talk about, the evolution of where Mystic Days was back during its first Kickstarter up to the new release, and then basically the process that they went through in making contact with Clyde Caldwell and bringing someone of his caliber to their project. So really, really excited to talk to everyone. I'm going to let everybody introduce yourselves first, and then I will be quiet and just let you roll in there. I will be taking comments from the from the viewers, and I will make sure that I eliminate any Russian bots or any other kind of things that sometimes come in. So if anything inappropriate does come up, I will zap them as quickly as I can. So I guess we'll just go in whatever order you guys choose to. If you want to go from, clockwise, that's fine too. So beginning with Ron.
Well, hi, my name is Ron Christopher. I'm in Orlando, Florida. I'm probably the most recent addition to this austere team. I basically am just more of a contributor to the effort. I'm not one of the main guys that created this out of whole cloth, but I'm just blessed to be a part of it and looking forward to this partnership going forward.
I am Andy Thomas, and I am the co-creator of Mystic Days. We can get more into that later in the interview if you want to. And I'm just super blessed to be working with these guys. Mystic Days would not be where it's at without everybody that you see on screen and a lot of people that you don't see on screen.
Yep. I'm William Hart. I'm a chief illustrator. I've been on board since this last April. We met at DaveCon in Minneapolis, and we connected there, and I've been drawing all summer. So
yes, he has.
Yes, he has. All right, I'm Dave Yeager. I'm the other co-creator of Mystic Days. I guess I don't have much more to add to that. It's good to have Ron and to have William with us. We needed art and we need content and we need everything. So it's just good to have everybody on board.
Right. Yeah, because two guys can only go so far.
Yeah.
We came up with an idea and we got it this far, but if it's going to go where we'd like to have it go, we got to have guys like Ron and Bill on board. And Clyde Caldwell. Wow. So anyway.
No kidding.
Yeah. So why don't we actually get right into that? So So that's been the big change between. I think your previous Kickstarter ended in June, correct? Was it June?
No,
or
it
was earlier than that.
Yeah, it ended last September.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Late August. Late August. But we got all of the stuff out by this year.
Yes.
And I think we started sending books out in May.
Yeah. I think
Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep. May.
And that's around when I had you on my channel previously. So that's it. And
so that's one of the books.
That's one of the books.
Yeah, there's three.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a real simple. There we go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then one more book, Creatures and Coins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And so there's just the three books, and we had one adventure module, and a bunch of goofy dice from D5s and D14s and the like. But it was just a couple of guys on a shoestring budget with an idea, and we were able to put it together with a little bit of paid art and a lot of AI art, which we will
Mhm.
never use anymore. But
Right.
we got it out there, and we're happy that everyone that has played it is happy with it. But we want to take it to the next level, and we're adding content and streamlining things for the Caldwell edition. And so, yeah, Dave, you want to take that away on how that happened?
Oh, as far as it was kind of it was a dream of ours, of course. I mean, Clyde Caldwell, easily they were. I mean, they were the icons when we got into
Mhm.
D&D. That was D&D
Right.
was those guys' art, and something we really always kind of wanted but didn't think about it. And we kind of got introduced by a friend of ours from DaveCon. Kind of hooked us up with Clyde, and at first with Jeff Easley, and it didn't work out with Jeff, and then he hooked us up with Clyde Caldwell, and through Andy did most of the talking back and forth with Clyde on that, and it really surprises us that we were able to. We didn't commission art, I guess, license art from him. It would be really neat if it was commissioned art, originals,
Right.
but the art we got is art we remember from,
Right.
those bygone days where it was all beginning, and what really brought us into D&D. So,
Yeah. As a fan, I'm gonna say that and I'm certainly aging myself in the process as well. To me, the TSR stable of artists, both interior art and cover artists, and that includes those that were doing stuff on Dragon Magazine as well. I don't think that there is to this day a better stable of artists that existed then in the late 80s, early, or I should say late 70s through the mid to late 80s. I don't think anybody touches it. I mean, you have to go to. I mean, some of the artists that you see in like some of the other independents, like Modifius has a great stable of artists as well. Although they're commissioning a lot of that, coming in. So, I mean, there's a lot of great artists out there, don't get me wrong, but they were the industry in TSR. I mean, they had it across the board, untouchable art wise. So to bring someone like Clyde Caldwell to your project is just phenomenal. I mean, it's unquestionably going to put your Kickstarter out there. Like, people are going to be like, wow, this is and it's some of his most popular pieces. Like I have the covers, but I was going to do a reveal, I'll let your Kickstarter do that, but I was like, oh, this is the Book of Lairs, this is the immediately just started picking up these things, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like some of his most iconic pieces as well.
You can show those pictures that I sent you if you want. That's totally cool. We'll show people. Now, Alex Butler is our graphic design guy. He put these together, and he's not here. There's another guy in the team.
Oh, Andy, you're breaking up a little bit.
We pay him to.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, you just started breaking up and fuzzing a little bit. Let's see. Let's see. I do have a comment, and actually, this is one of my players in my my AD&D campaign and my Castles and Crusades campaign as well. So Caldwell is one of the many great artists that brought Dragonlance to life for him. So and that's I actually met Clyde Caldwell. I'm not even too sure, because it's going back to 1985 at Gen Con 18. But he signed my Dragonlance novel, and I actually had dinner with all of those, with the Dragonlance team.
Cool.
Gary Gygax actually gave me a VIP ticket to, because I was alone at Gen Con. I was 18 years old. I went to sit at a, Gary was going to do a seminar. And so I was like one of the first ones into the room. I ran up to the front. I wanted to have front row seat. And there's this, gentleman next to me, and he turns to me and he says, "Would you mind just keeping my daughter company, while I go up?" And I was like, "Sure," and he got up and he walked on the stage. I was like, holy cow, that was Gary Gygax right next to me, So, and then when he was done doing his thing, he came back down and he says, "Hey, what are you here for?" And I said, "Well, it's my first time away from home and, my first convention, and I'm really here for Dragonlance." And he walks me right over to the side of the auditorium, introduces me to Tracy and Laura Hickman, and he asked Tracy Hickman, "Do you have any VIP tickets left for dinner tonight?" And he gave me one, and I sat there with Douglas Niles, and I remember Roger Moore was at the table, Keith Parkinson was at the table, Tracy and Laura Hickman. And it was just a phenomenal lifelong experience that I'll never forget. And then when I went to the artist corner, that's when I met and got a hold of everybody else. So I have a signature of everybody from Dragonlance, in my book there, and we'll have it forever. So, cool. To have your project being attached in any small way to Clyde Caldwell, and through working together to bring that to happen, it's got to be amazing. I can only imagine.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. When I first contacted him, and David mentioned that we contacted Mr. Easley first, and we had gotten his number through Vic Dorso. He runs DaveCon.
Right.
And that was happening at the same time that they were erasing Mr. Easley's signature off the Dungeons and Dragons movie poster.
Oh my God. Art. Yeah.
And so I think that might be one reason he wasn't real interested in working with us. The other thing is, who are we? I mean, he doesn't know who we are,
Right.
Yeah.
And then Vic, I think it was the same day. He's like, "Hey, I can put you in touch with Mr. Clyde Caldwell too." And we're like, "Oh, we're not worthy." And so one thing led to another, and Clyde was very open to talking to me from the word go, and he is just the epitome of gracious. And we could not be happier to have a licensing agreement with him. So,
and he is kind of in the loop on this too. We're kind of showing him what we're doing as we go, and kind of getting his approval on it. We want to do stuff that honors him and pleases his, with his art and everything. Right. So we didn't just license it and then leave him in the ditch, and we do whatever we want with it,
Yeah.
Right. Everything that I sent you of Clyde's, all the book covers and everything, those he has said yes to. Everything that I have sent him that he didn't, I don't know that he hated it, but you could tell in the email that he thought it could be better. He would give me his opinion, and then he would say, "But it's your game, so you can do what you want." Because basically that's how we're learning corporate America treats artists. They just take their art and do whatever they want, and they don't ask the artist what they think.
Oh yeah.
And so that's kind of what he's used to. So he really wasn't used to me us sending stuff to him and asking for his approval.
Right.
But all of those that you have seen, the emails that I got back on those were kudos to Cully, and there was no additional thoughts on it. He just liked it. So when I get an email back from him like that, I'm like, that's a green light. We go with that one. So we're not going to put anything out there unless Clyde says, "Yeah, I like that." And I think, like Dave said, we owe it to him, quite frankly. But
Right.
anyway, enough of us.
Yeah.
We've got Ron Christopher here,
Yes.
who is
Yes.
just a phenomenal
Mhm.
creature and spell and magic item creator. And overnight, he doubled the amount of monsters that we have going forward. And so I want to kind of get Ron and Bill
Yep.
into this. Say hi, Ron.
How do you? Yeah, well, I think if I'm not mistaken, I was introduced to these two geniuses here through Rob Ritchie. I guess you guys met him at DaveCon. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you say geniuses? Because I'm looking
Yeah.
for one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because I've been working with Rob down here. He lives just half an hour from me here in Central Florida, and he has a fan magazine called Flipping and Turning that he does for a first edition D&D, and it comes out quarterly. And I've been a contributor, one of the many contributors to that for several years now. And I submit monsters. He has a monster section in the magazine and spells and magic items and stuff like that. He actually got me going on this entire thing that I've been doing. He about 3 years ago, he set up almost like a competition in the magazine. He had a list of items and here, make a potion out of this, of these items. And I did that. And ever since that time, I've just wanted to create. I don't know if I'm much of a dungeon master or much of a player, but I really love the creative part of D&D and role-playing games in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just been making new stuff continuously and submitting it to Rob for submission or consideration for submission into his magazine. And over the last 2.5 years, I guess I've created 550 things, all of which I've now sent to Andy and Dave for their perusal, and I'm fortunate enough that they liked enough of it that they wanted to include some of it in the game. So I think I sent a new batch just a couple of days ago. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but
You did.
as much as I don't know how much of it's any good, but I just keep creating it. So if somebody can find it usable in a game, whether it's D&D or Mystic Days, I'm more than thrilled. So just happy to be a part of the team and contribute in any small way I can.
Well, it's all good. And I think I sent you a link to Ron's book too. Ron's Old School Compendium. So that's for sale out there. And I don't know if maybe you can put that link for the folks, because there's a lot of first edition people that they still like to play first edition, and that's all they play. And
myself included. Yeah.
Well, you can get Ron's book for $20, soft cover, and you will be amazed. Well worth it.
Right.
So we're just converting those over to Mystic Days. But
yeah, one thing I'm afraid I've done is I've created more work for these gentlemen if they have to convert everything from first edition D&D to Mystic Days, and I'm probably making more work than they were anticipating.
Well, yeah, but that's fun work. I like doing that kind of stuff.
Now that'll make an interesting segue to a question now. So, what actually is what is the transition, if you can kind of simplify that? So how would you convert from D&D, whether it's AD&D, to Mystic Days?
Right. Okay, perfect. So since we didn't have character levels, we don't have monster hit dice. So we had to determine a way to develop or decide or determine the power of these creatures, and the hit points or life points, we call them, that they might have. So we based it on the size of the creature, and then there's some other things that you can throw in there, variables. Movement is a little bit different. We don't have, what else don't we have? So armor class, that won't be a thing.
Right.
Because the combat system that we use doesn't use the standard to hit, and so armor class is out, so you won't see that. So hit dice and armor class are out. What else might be out from first edition or 5e for that matter? You're going to have the quantity, you're going to have life points, you're going to have size of the creature, the
Right.
movement rate. Our movement rate's done a little bit differently, but
Yeah.
magic resistance, quantity.
Our
that
creatures
kind of
have
thing.
attributes.
You won't have alignment.
No alignment.
No,
Yeah,
limit. No.
yeah, attributes. Dave nailed it right there.
Yeah.
That's a big difference because
Yeah.
each character has 6 attributes: strength,
Mhm.
constitution, dexterity, speed, wisdom, and intelligence. And so does every monster. So
Right.
so it's really easy to compare them in combat or in magical competition with each other because you're basing that off the same attribute scores.
Right.
So yeah, that would be a big difference. But it's pretty easy to convert them. It just takes time.
Yeah. And then if they have magical abilities, our magic works completely different than D&D. So that's a little bit of a crossover also that you have to deal with, but it's really not that hard. Once you get used to it, it's pretty simple.
Right. So this is more of an independent than it is an OSR. All right. It's more of a kind of a separate entity.
Yeah, it's not a clone.
No.
Which actually, is something that I think will, believe it or not, granted even more appeal to a number of people because, myself included, I have more OSR, D&D clones and retro clones and whatever of almost every single edition of Dungeons and Dragons that, I really, get to the point where I was like, I don't need any more. I am looking for game systems that are doing something different, something new, something innovative. And this, the fact that, sure, it can be converted, but their systems are completely, in some cases completely different.
Yep.
I think we'll carry it, to a different audience, and that's a great thing, because I think that independent and more unique OSR game systems out there, are going to pull more people in than previously. I mean, especially after January and after the OGL
Right.
nonsense and this,
And they keep doing it.
yeah.
I mean, they keep finding another thing to mess up on somehow.
Yeah. It's they're just they just. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. What they're going for. I mean, they want a digital game. They they want a video game. They want Fortnite. I mean, if they can get Fortnite numbers, they will do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
They will throw everything else out the window if it means that they can get Fortnite numbers. And I don't blame them. I mean, I know their plans are to have 50 million users. You're not going to get 50 million users by 2027 with a tabletop role-playing game. You're just not. You know what I'm saying? No. It's like, no. I don't think that there are 50 million tabletop role-play game players in the world, let alone.
I would like to know what that number might be, but
I hear numbers as close, and Wizards of the Coast have put out that their numbers are around 8 million. And they're the largest, so it might be 20 or 25, maybe 30 million in the world. But it's not big. So I get it. I understand, but just be upfront with it. Just come out and say it. Now, this is what we're doing, and we're looking to leave behind the old model of tabletop role-playing games, but it's just not going to fly because there will always be tabletop role-playing gamers out there. None of us are leaving it, and this is a perfect example. I mean, you're reaching back and getting artists like Clyde Caldwell, who everyone who has any sense, in this hobby knows who that is, and it's not just nostalgia. It's reaching back and grabbing quality, that's really almost unmatched or probably even, only matched by other people of that time frame, like the Jeff
Sure.
Easleys or the Keith Parkinson's for both cover and interior art mostly.
Sure.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like there's so few of them left around, and they still have so much to contribute to this. And you're not seeing that with the big industry leaders.
Mhm.
You're seeing it with these smaller publishers such as yourself. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, yeah, so are we, and
Yeah.
we're equally excited to have William Hart on with us. That
Yeah.
we met at DaveCon, and Vic Dorso, who runs DaveCon, I talked to him a couple of days ago, and he made a comment that he has put us into contact with everyone we're working with, and that's actually true. So thank you, Vic. we owe Vic a lot.
Yeah.
But we met Bill at DaveCon, and we just kind of we saw him sketching, and it was captivating. And I know we are just thrilled to have Clyde Caldwell's artwork on our covers,
Right.
but we truly are equally thrilled to have William Hart on the interior. And I sent you some of his stuff. I think he's got some stuff that we can probably
He's got
throw
some
up on
stuff that
screen.
we could throw that on screen right now. So it's a perfect segue. And
Cool.
I'll let William just describe what you're doing so that we can all see. All right. So here we go.
Oh, well,
And
sure.
Sorry.
Yeah,
That's
no,
awesome.
we met at DaveCon, and actually we were all sitting at the same table playing a game that Rob Ritchie, who was just mentioned earlier, was the DM.
Mhm.
And it was a real what was this? It was a crazy story. I mean, it was just a goofy kind of tongue-in-cheek, very camp D&D game. And we had a blast together. I mean, that was fun. That was some of the most memorable top game. Andy was running a halfling who got
Plumpy round belly.
Plumpy, yeah. And and we ended up in this bar that was full of orcs. It's all the evil denizens of the city's hangout, their secret hideout. And for whatever reason, I think it was to liberate one of the employees, we agreed to arm wrestle the bouncer, who's an ogre. I mean, it's just and he was described as extremely surly, smelly, overly muscle-bound ogre. And so we slipped Plumpy a potion of giant strength, and then he went and arm wrestled this ogre, and it was actually really intense because we used these rules where essentially you had to win the best 2 out of 3. I think is that right? Something like that. And
Right.
or no, there was something else involved because it kept going back and forth, or it was like,
you had to win.
Down. Oh no, the ogre's down. One more time you'll win. Oh no, the ogre got back up, and it kept on going back and forth for what seemed like forever. And then eventually he won, and the whole table was just hooting and hollering, having so much fun.
Yeah.
That was a great time. But then we just bumped into each other, and I was showing Vic my sketchbook. So I wasn't really planning to go there and show a portfolio. I was just going to have fun. But just hearing people talking about their own modules and their own games that they're putting out prompted me to say, just to kind of do some check-in, just to see what the scene was kind of like. And so I talked to Vic, who of course knows everybody.
Yes,
Pretty much anyone who was born after Moses has met Vic Dorso at some point.
Yeah.
So I went to show Vic, and he looked at my sketchbook, and the first thing he was like, "You know what? You got a table next year." I'm like, "Huh? Next year, Artist Alley, you be there. I can't buy your ticket, but I'll give you a table for free." I'm like, "Okay, well." It's pretty nice. But then Andy was there. He saw my sketchbook, and he asked me, some questions and what I was up to. So we talked, and it was pretty fun. But yeah, right now I'm actually working on my last piece for this Kickstarter. And I think I'll show you one. This is probably my favorite one right now.
Wow.
This is the Cora Capra, which is a I always pronounce this wrong. Is it Logan form? Logan
Yep.
foreign?
Yes,
Okay.
Logan Forum.
So in the Mystic Days world, there is a lycanthropy exists, but it's a little bit more evolved and a little more freaky and scary and deadly. So traditionally we all know lycanthropy means a werewolf, right? Someone's gonna turn into a werewolf. Well, in this setting, only the humans turn into a wolfen type creature. They're actually more of a referred to as a warg instead of a wolf because they're bigger and nastier, right? So then other species turn into different forms. This one we're looking at here, this would be really good for all the fans of Grog Talk. This is a gnome when they become infected.
Wow.
I mean, so it has this satyr kind of imagery going on with its horns on its head, and then the hoofs on the feet, and then the spine, and then the description said spines going down its back. So I just imagined the spinal cord just started, those parts on the side just started mutating and pushing up through the skin like crazy rampant like wild nails or fins or spikes and whatnot. So that was where I put this one together based on that. And I think the next one actually I'm working on is going to be the dwarf, this final piece. So this was my rough sketch of what the dwarf. So you have kind of a werebear with the over exaggerated huge maw with just railroad spike kind of teeth just coming out at all different directions, and then a smaller snout. So it kind of has like a Pac-Man sort of face going if you're looking at it front, from the front. So
like a pug. It's like a pug, an angry pug. Yeah.
So then I played around with this image quite a bit and was trying different styles. I think this is the one I'm going with. Oh, I gotta clean this up. Hold on. Turn off this stuff.
Well, if I can interject just really briefly, as he showed you the first sketch of the Vertrog in there, like it was like clawing its way through something.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, I look at that and I would be fine to see that on a page, because that, as soon as I saw that, I don't know about you, but when I see that, my imagination goes wild.
Right.
Now, for Bill, that's not done. That's not even close to done. But I would be happy with that. But
because this is actually just a little 3x3 sketch,
Yeah.
What do you think, Bluddworth?
No, I that is tattoo worthy. Let's put it that way. You know
that's
what I'm saying?
I'm talking about. Yes.
And it would fall within that, because there's a certain style of that too that you see in tattoos, and having that, sketch, but it still has very very dark outlines and some semblance of shading and stuff like that. I mean, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Thanks. Yeah, that was fun to do. I mean, it really. When I was working on this drawing, I decided to kind of cut down the overall scope of the figure that I was putting in an image, and wanted to force myself to doing vignettes, like just parts of the creature. So this one, I actually was like, I drew a triangle on the page, and I said, I'm going to make it fit in this triangle. And that's how this one came to be.
And you can see it. I mean, it's just like when you say it, and really, this is phenomenal to actually listen to an artist talk about, just the process of drawing, and the fact that you're like, I just put a triangle down and now want to fix it. Myself, I can't draw a stick figure, and I can
Dave
see.
can.
And so I'm just amazed at how you relay that understanding. Like, I can see the triangle, just in your description of it, and you know, it really does reveal the process, or at least part of it.
Yeah,
to us. So cool.
it was something that was intentional, and I think I did that with the ogre piece too. The first drawing I did of the ogre, he had oh gosh,
Are you willing to show some of your sketches?
Well, I guess I can.
Unfinished work.
I could show a little bit. But the ogre piece I cut down and tried to put it into a smaller. I guess I'll pull the first one up here, and put it into, limit what I'm going to do, and that really forces my creativity through a funnel. So this was as it opens. Was the ogre the first drawing I did. So the idea,
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yes.
This way, but it's just it's a more involved piece than what we set out to do from the beginning. So I had to pull back because here's the ogre, right? Just now, just up below his hand in this area. Well, in his hand, maybe kind of hard to see, is a gnome that he's about to throw in his mouth, and the gnome's hand is on his finger, and he's looking up down into the throat.
Yeah,
and then for fun, I drew a little gnome trying to grab onto his but it's not really to scale, but I could maybe put a hand reaching out,
reaching up and grabbing that, and to be able to pick that up, and then the other one trying to escape.
This one running away. And there really isn't any gnome hatred in my heart. It's just they just became the subjects for a few of these drawings. But I think actually this is, if I turn off these layers, you can see the original drawing, the pencils.
Right.
Yeah, this is scanned in. So it's a lot of scritchy scratch and that's how I start everything. It's a lot of loose scritchy scratch stuff that's based on stick figures. I'm not kidding you. Everything's a stick figure. And then I add other shapes on top of it. And then I try and move those shapes around to give you dimension.
Right.
But yeah, so that was the ogre. Let's see, close this one. And
the eyes say it all.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, just the detail on that was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's going to be in the book. So
I mean, so it is. I really can't wait. I really can't wait to, once the Kickstarter launches, to really start digging through things and covering this and, showing off what is in there, as far as what people can see on the Kickstarter itself. And now this, this interview here, people are getting to see, the art that's going to be in the book, a week ahead of time. I mean, I really, really am thrilled, that I already told you that I was going to back this. It's without question, just really excited, from the art to the different kind of game system that I'm looking for, and, Clyde Caldwell covers, and, even just the packaging, the way that you have it, the Kickstarter. And I'll do a little bit of a reveal here that, the 4 soft cover books is it in a box, like a box set? I know it was.
Well, yeah, we're going to have both. Yeah. We're going to have a box set with the 4 soft cover books plus the dice. Yeah. And then we're going to offer hardcover books too. And a couple of things we're doing with Clyde is that we're going to offer a box set with his signature on them, and there's only going to be 25 of those, and half of the proceeds go to Clyde on those. And then t-shirts, coffee mugs, and posters that Cully's working on putting together. Clyde's going to get a portion of those sales too. So yeah, we want to share a piece of the pie with everybody that's involved. Yep. And but you can see this artwork here. This is the last piece that Bill's working on presently prior to the Kickstarter. And maybe you can explain this idea to the folks.
Right. So this piece is we have a party of adventurers actually hunting down that monster, and what you'll see is their main focus of the two in the front, the elf and the dwarf, and there's a murder happening, and it's going to be a silhouette cast on the wall across the street. And so while these two are moving forward, they'll find out that they are actually in a trap, and that another partner to the other Durtragan has come out and is busting through a door to pull in like their spellcaster, and just and so our Dwelf, this character, the female in the front, is one of the new races for the system, and she's a half dwarf, half elf, and so she just is witnessing this happening, whereas the two in front are unaware, and that's
what's going
just
on.
And what I just wanted to show, because I did a lot of actually like kind of more of a pinup drawings, just like a single, and not just necessarily a single creature, but one thing about the old school was the drawings were set of tone, very strong tone, that the likelihood of your character surviving was small. There are always those old pictures of people just getting taken apart, right? And actually that was plus some of my influence, is like Tramp and the other artists, and so I wanted to make sure I did something in the Kickstarter that had that feel of it's not a safe place to play in, and so that makes it exciting, and that if you do roll up a character, don't get too attached till maybe they're a lot stronger, because there's some turnover. So I put these together, and some of the drawings go really fast, like the elf in the foreground. Let me zoom in on him. He was done. Oh gosh, he only took me about an hour or so. He was really fast. It came together really quickly.
Wow.
The dwarf was originally more of a goblinoid looking kind of creature, and I was like, "What am I drawing?" I couldn't even know. I just knew I kind of had a pose going, was drawing. So I had to change him up a little bit. I think it was actually a full size. It was a full size figure, like as far as human and height, it's maybe like a 6 foot tall figure. So one of the fun things about working digitally is being able to manipulate images. So I made him more. I widened him out and then squished him down and and I got rid of the hood it was on the character and made it into hair and added some horns on the helmet, and now it's a dwarf. Right?
It's
And then for this character, I was having a hard time with the pose, and so I was able to use a cheat. This has mannequins that I can pose to where I want it to be, and I just normally I don't do that, but I'm looking at the calendar, and I'm up against the clock, so I got to cheat, right? Let's do it.
Crunch.
Roll.
Usually we don't hear about crunch unless we're talking about video games, computer video games, and crunch. But the crunch is real, right?
Absolutely.
You have deadlines and that kind of thing. It's
got to get it done. And so tonight and tomorrow, I'm going to see how soon I can wrap this up. I won't ever say anything live online, giving great promises. But
you said you would have this done tomorrow.
We got the proof right there.
Yeah.
We got it right here at minute 44. You said you'd have no. I'm working on it. There you go. But thank you for showcasing. This is a really great project, and like you said, when you were talking about innovation in the RPG, everything has been a D20 or base for a long time. I mean, there's some games like Evil Hat Productions came up with a new system with Monsters of the Week, where the players roll everything, and if they roll a certain number, they got hit, and if they got to roll another number, they hit. But in this game, it's taking that. Those games are also a lot more simplistic. This game is as deep as you want it to be, and as wide as you want it to be. I mean, it can be 1 inch thick, and only so wide, or you could seriously put some depth and go out a mile, depending on what you want to do with it. So its customizability is really where I find it really, really appealing. I mean, it's just whatever your imagination you want to do. There is a huge section on crafting magic items. You know, I remember like forever. It's like, you know, so AD&D had a good job, but they had some spell components, and that was fun.
Right.
You know, especially for like the people who are inquisitive and want to know how things are made, even if they're fake. You still want to know how it comes together, right? It's your imagination.
Yeah.
But still, gotta have some kind of guidelines. But these guys have put together a system for like how all these different components of the creatures have, you know, magical properties to, you know, and how you could take the fang from this creature and the skin from another creature, and bam, that outcome is going to give you X. You know, it's just, and there's just hundreds of combinations, if not thousands of combinations, and then those combinations can work for enchanting items, you know, creating magic items, all sorts of fun stuff. So it's like, you really, either you could take whatever you imagine and codify it if you want to, or you don't have to, you know, or if you have no idea what you want, but you know you need some nasty, you know, thingamawat's it at the end of the game, you roll on the tables and it's done, you know.
Right.
So it's a really creative. I mean, the amount of time and energy they put together too is just, you just see it. So it has volumes, and for what it's going to, you know, kickstart for, it's a bargain. Right. It's a massive amount of like tomes of information that they've condensed into the material that they're going to put out on Kickstarter.
Yeah. All right. Let me so I'll take your work off the screen here. We'll bring us back up to full screen here. So as far as the like, let's say the core rule book, so you have a player's book, you have a DM's book, or game master's book, right?
So that's called the adventure guide.
All right, so the adventure guide. So the layout of the adventure guide, like how is it different than, let's say, AD&D DM's guide? Like, you know, a lot of times we hear with the guide for whomever is running the game. You know, oftentimes they're just a collection of you know, optional rules and stuff, and very little actually teaches you how to become a game master and that kind of a thing. So where does your game master guide kind of fall in to that that kind of mix?
Well, there's 6 chapters, and you know, it's laid out just like the player's book is, so all the chapters coincide. And I really got that idea from my old box set back here in the corner, the old red box. So all the chapters coincide. So chapter 1 is character creation in both books, and chapter 2 is movement, chapter 3 is combat, chapter 4 is wizardry, and then chapter 5 is equipment. Of course, in the adventure guide, we got a chapter 6, which is about creating an adventure, how to do it, and we came up with a bunch of tables for randomly generating cave exploration and randomly generating different types of traps and just all kinds of things. But we try to be as straightforward as possible. Understanding that most people know what a role-playing game is, at least to some degree. So when they crack open the book, they understand that, at least, you know, at a core level. But I guess, does that kind of answer the question? Or
I was the chapter 6 being this is how you create an adventure. Here are the number of charts and you know, whatever you'll need to actually construct that, you know, on the fly, is really what I was talking about. You know, and like you said, I mean, that goes back to the, you know, red box. I mean, the strength of Metzner's 83 Beckme, I call it Beckme, is that it does exactly that. It really does teach you how to play the game, and that's for every player. So they're all reading the same rules, and it kind of walks them through this thing that everyone does a solo adventure, and they go through to learn the mechanics, and then it really does take that. Now, this is how you write an adventure. This is how you build the world. This is how you create a campaign, kind of thing. And to me, that's the best introductory to tabletop role-playing game that's ever been made. I mean, I just say that if you want to introduce a brand new 11-year-old to tabletop role-playing games, that's the box set to use. Now your game is more advanced, obviously, and so it is not for the it's not for the uninitiated. Let's put it that way. And that is but it still does have components that are going to teach you how to game master it and how to create for it. So that is, I think, really important, and it's good to hear that that's there.
Yeah.
And we've got tables that randomly generate new creatures also. You can create anything you want.
As many as Ron?
Well, you could if you want to sit down and do all the rolling. But if you just want something new and different, you could roll up a creature real quick for an adventure, and just something that new and never heard of. Also, in our players book, we have a list of the monsters that we have before Ron came along, and what players might have heard about them, and that's not necessarily what the monsters really are.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we recommend that the players don't
really
read the adventure guide or the creatures books, because they're going out, they're not going to know all this stuff. So they'll meet a creature, and what rumors they heard might not be true of what that creature really is and does. So
that is so incredibly important. And believe it or not, that is something that has been going on amongst the number of different YouTube channels that I follow about 300 of them. The last 2 weeks, there's been a big either question or debate or just conversation about the separation of player knowledge from player character knowledge, and the fact that when player characters go out into the world for the first time as young adventurers, they might have heard about something, but they have they could have been misinformed or just following the myth of something, and it turns out I keep on bringing this up from my own group. I had a player, and he's going to probably want to kill me because I always bring this up, but it was really important.
You can always kill him right back.
Yeah. He's he had encountered a were-rat for the first time. The party had never encountered them before, and he tried to cast he actually stated, I'm casting a speak with animals to talk to the were-rat. He was going to try to convince the were-rat not to fight them because they were a large group and they didn't want, he didn't want to kill him. So I said, all right, you cast a spell. And he said, yes, I cast a spell. I said, it doesn't work. I said, well, why not? It's speak with animals. The were-rat's not an animal. All right, it's a monster. And I says, plus were-rats are completely capable of speaking common. You could have talked to them in common. Anyway, but my character would know that, and I was like, you've never encountered a were creature before. So now your character knows it. But from now on, and my players, they keep a log of everything that they've encountered, what they experienced with that first encounter and everything, and they carry that knowledge going forward. And if they forget, I remind them. I was like, oh no, you've encountered an Umber Hulk before. You know what this, even if the player doesn't remember, their player character certainly does, because it was in their life experience. And so it's so important that the rule books if they do have a monster in there and you actually thought about having this, well, this might not be exactly the way it's going to be when you encounter it. That is just phenomenal.
Right.
Well, and then just to add to that is this system does not use the tropes that you come to expect for like an orc or a goblin. And so the 50 years of lore in D&D monsters, there's none of that in here. It's still the same. I mean, it's still threatening and it's exciting, but it's not the same orc. It's not the same kobold. It's not the same werewolf. I mean, so it's a different setting. It's different monsters. So there isn't a player out there that knows what's going to happen.
Right.
And how many tables can you sit at where that's the case? This is a whole new universe to be opened up to play to the gaming industry, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, and the same thing with Magic. In D&D, you have X number of spells per day based on level, and then you cast it. You cast it, and you pretty much know what's going to happen if it doesn't make a saving throw. Not in this game. Great things can happen, terrible things can happen, but most of the time, unexpected things are going to happen with the Magic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always a lot of fun too. The uncertainty of you're wielding magic, which is incredible, and it's also incredibly unpredictable as well. So unless you're so actually, let me ask you, does the system have skill levels within what players are doing, player characters are doing?
Yeah, we call them degrees. As far as special skills increase by degree. And since there's no actual level, to get better, it's attribute based and skill based.
Right.
And so the more you use your chosen weapon, the better you get with that weapon.
Right. Sounds great.
Or weapons group. But if you've never used a spear and suddenly you pick it up, you won't be as good at using that spear as you were with using your broadsword that your character used forever.
Right.
And so what we've done with that is we've come up with every character and monster has an action die for combat. And that's based on their dexterity score. Your speed score will give you a bonus to that. And it also gives you how many actions you have with that action die per round. And there's more to it than that, but that's nutshelling it. And then it's a roll-off system rather than a to-hit system, which we talked about early on in the interview. Rather than the typical, well, what's your armor class? What do I need to hit? Roll a d20. None of that. And so what I'm finding, a lot of D&D players aren't used to the way we do combat. So they're not used to being asked, what do you want to do? Because what they want to do is they want to know what your armor class is and what they need to roll. And that's it. And then they can roll the damage with their sword, spear, or whatever. That's not how we do it. We tell you what the monster's doing. We ask what your character wants to do in response to that, or vice versa. And then you roll your action die. The game master will roll their action die, and high roll wins. And that's why combat goes so fast, because you will never have a time where 5 players miss. 5 monsters miss. Somebody's getting hit practically every time a roll-off occurs. And so with combat, this is a lethal game. It can be. Just because the way it's designed. You'll never have overpowered characters because you don't get 10 more hit points every time you get a level, because you don't level up.
Right.
You just get a higher action die after you've used it so long. At any rate, where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought. It's hot upstairs.
So I had asked about, if your individual skills actually increase by degree, as you pointed out.
Yes.
So that's where.
So that's how you do that. You get 100 points. You get X amount of points every time you win a roll off, and you get X minus a few points every time you lose a roll off. So you kind of fail forward. You learn something every time. So once you get to 100 points, you go up to the next action die. And Magic is similar in that it's a roll off system, but you're rolling against the Magic die. When you want to cast a spell, there's 2 stages to it. You first have to harness the energy from the surrounding universe, and that's a roll off. And so you have what we call a harness die, and that's based on your wisdom score. And you roll that die, it might be a D6 or a D8 or even a D10 or higher. The Magic die is a D12. Anybody at the table can roll that die, and you have to beat that. Tie always goes to the Magic die. You have to beat that to harness that energy that you wanted. If you lose, it's not really crucial. If you lose, you just lose some access to some energy, and you got to try again. Right. But if you win, then you've harnessed that energy. Now you want to cast a spell. Maybe you want to cast Lightning Bolt. This happened in a game that we ran at DaveCon last year, and so the player was able to harness the energy, and it was near the end of the game. And you can hold that energy too, or you can form it into a spell and hold the spell until you want to throw it. So he had formed it into a lightning bolt, and he had like 50 points of damage wrapped up in this lightning bolt. And at the end of the game, they were fighting the antagonist, and he got hit, and he lost control of that lightning bolt. And fortunately, there were 8 combatants all together, and I just had him roll a D8 to see who it hit, and we numbered everybody around the table. And the antagonist happened to be number 5, and he rolled a 5. So he blew the antagonist off the side of the mountain and won the game for him. Well, then there was a little bit more to it than that to finish up the game. And long story short, he got another lightning bolt ready, and it went off wrong, and he killed himself that time. So that's how Ron said that, Magic, unexpected things can happen. And those were 2 unexpected things that happened, and he only cast the spell twice. So that's how Magic works. And then the more you cast the same spell, the better you get at that spell. And you get a die for every spell, and you go up, you get the next die, and until you might end up with a D24 or maybe even 3D10 to roll against the Magic die when you cast that spell. But because every time you cast a spell, there is a chance that something can happen. No matter how many dice you get to roll, you could still roll less than 12. So there's always that risk. But you want to add to that, Dave?
Yeah, well, Magic is kind of unlimited how we designed it. There's tables. You can design your own spell. You can try anything your game master is going to allow. Where we've limited Magic is, okay, you can cast that spell, but with the possibility of it going wrong, do you really need to? You're probably not going to use Magic just to start your campfire, because the possibility of it going wrong can be devastating. So
we just wanted some toast, and now we're toast.
And we dropped a fireball on top of everybody on the camp, and
So if they're smart, you're going to limit yourself for when you use it. You're not just going to be throwing spells out willy-nilly for something to do. You're going to be in a situation where, okay, this is a good spot to try it because we're in trouble. And if it goes off, great. If it doesn't, every spell has a table you roll against if you miscast a spell, if you lose that roll off. So you roll a D7. There's 7 different things that can happen. There's only a roll of 1 that nothing will happen. Then there's some that help and some that hurt. Some that make you go to a different table and roll on a larger table. And then there's something that we call magic scars. It's a possibility to get a scar when you've messed up on your magic. And sometimes those scars are permanent, but you could lose an eye, possibly. You could lose a finger. You could throw a hip out of joint, whatever. Sometimes then they will also help you.
Yeah, you could also gain the ability to use that spell
once
like
a day
once
at
a
no
week.
cost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's pros and cons.
I know,
but
yeah. Wow. So I guess that answers Andrew's question here. Is that, sounds like wild magic, and
similar.
yeah, it actually pretty much does sound like it's similar to wild magic, and other systems that use that, very similar, like Dungeon Crawl Classics and others. That's the predominant one that,
Yeah.
Right. It's usually
So what-
better not casting, minor spells for no reason, kind of thing. It's
right.
Right.
You want to
Yeah.
be strategic with your
Yeah.
spell casting.
Yeah.
One way around that would be to create a magic item, but there's the same risk is involved in creating the magic item as casting the spell. But the benefit, if you actually can create the magic item, is that the magic item doesn't, when you use it, it doesn't carry that risk.
Right.
But it's limited in its uses, and we put a recharge rate on them. So once you use them, then you might have to wait a few days to use it again. But so that's the trade-off we gave with that. But yeah, so far everybody that's played it, they really enjoy it, and it's not a D20 system. Like I said, we use D4 all the way up to D24, 11 different dice, and it's not a remake of D&D, which is what we didn't want. We wanted something new, something fresh, and with these guys on board, it's just going to get better and better.
Yes, Al, this is answering one of my comments here. Yes, and a lot of people, it's the creative team of Mystic Days. So, really happy to have all four of them able to make it. And, so far we're hitting all of their different strengths and, contributions to the game. And, just really looking forward to this. I mean, I hope you caught when we were showcasing some of William's art as he was going through that, but you could always watch the video afterwards if you didn't catch that. So, let me jump back to so Ron. So you're creating most of the monsters, or most of the additional monsters to it, and what other kind of systems within the game would a new player or a new game master have to think about if they're creating their own, as far as like game balancing is concerned, or is that not even a concern, that you can end up creating something that's just Tarrasque level, world destroying, or
Oh, well, I mean, I've the things I've made up for first edition that a lot of being converted over, they range in power from creatures of 1 hit point all the way up to 15 hit dice as far as the AD&D term.
Yeah.
The good thing about this, the adventure guide, he or she can modify these as well to make them lesser or greater, and I always recommended that even when I was DMing. Keep your players guessing, because even after they've come across a creature, you can always buff it up a little bit, or change some of its abilities, or change some of its strengths and weaknesses, tailor it to your particular game. So it's not always so predictable. That's one of the reasons I create these things to begin with, the monsters and spells and magic items, because my players, I found that they've memorized everything. A lot of the people I play with have played for years, and they know everything. They know all the magic items. They know all the monsters. So they come across a troll, and they know it. You need acid and fire, and it can regenerate. So we got to be careful. If you mix it up and you throw a new monster, that's why back in '81 when the Fiend Folio came out, I dove into that book, because it was a whole new batch of monsters that nobody was familiar with and nobody had ever heard of. So you can keep your players on your toes, and that's kind of what I've been trying to do with the stuff I've been making. And I know a lot of the monsters that Andy and Dave have created are the same way. New things, or it may have the same name as a monster you're familiar with, but it's a totally different creature.
Totally different creature, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's really important to change things up. I mean, I love doing that. I love modifying it, and actually one of my players is online. If he if he remembers. They were second level at the time, and they encountered a bone construct. So it wasn't quite a bone golem, because that would have been too powerful for them as well. But the thing was dressed up as like a leash, and they were like, "What the hell are you throwing us into?" I was like, and they had to go through like these scrawlings in the thing, like beware in different languages and everything written in blood and all kinds of stuff. They break into this thing, and next thing they know, I took from the Dragon magazine that image of a leash with the with the halfling running away from it and everything. I don't know if you're familiar with that particular one. That's where I got the idea from that story. And they're a second level party. They're like, holy crap, we're gonna get killed by this thing, and I even had in the room that the two ghouls that were in the room ran away from it too. Like they were feared by it, because it had a special it had a necklace that allowed it to cast a fear spell that affected everything, including undead. So even undead were fearful, and they just thought that they were so outclassed, and then there was about 10 of them in the party at the time. I had a huge party, and they decided, well, we can't outrun this thing. We're just going to fight it. And they fought it. And it was a long fight and a dangerous fight, but they took it down. They were like, we just killed a leash. I said, no, it wasn't actually a leash. It was a construct. And you learned about, you got the wizard spell book that detailed how this thing was constructed and everything. And they were like, well, darn, I was like, you still got a lot of experience from it, but it was something completely different, and
right.
And that I think is like really important to subverting expectations, and I've thrown lesser harpies at lower level players, and they're like, oh, this thing is going to charm us all. It's like, no, it's a lesser harpy. He doesn't have that ability yet, or whatever. It's just it's really good to get in there and to change things up, so that it does keep it, especially when you have really experienced players that practically know everything that comes out of the monster manual, or even the monster manual 2, and
right.
it's really good. So let's see. Lots of people.
Well, that was a big thing going into creating the monsters when we first started last. We started this quite a while ago, but in 2020 we started it in earnest, and we wanted monsters that were different. We wanted something fresh, not just mechanics. We wanted, and so like a skeleton in AD&D, what are they? 1 hit dice, 2 hit dice?
Yeah,
I don't recall, but you can smack them with a mace and crush them, and skeleton in Mystic Days, not so. They have over 300 hit points, and they have different, and all undead have the fear factor. And so anytime you encounter them, depending on what undead you encounter, there's a different level of fear factor. But just to give you an example, one of the abilities that a skeleton has in Mystic Days is bone rattle. And they can rattle their bones twice a day and heal 200 life points just like that.
Wow.
So you're not just going to walk through 8 skeletons in Mystic Days. A lot of times you're going to want to run.
More often than not.
Right.
All right, so
another
question. Yep, here's a question. So wants to know if there are any other unique playable races.
Yes. So and I see he mentions Dwelf, and that is obviously a dwarf and elf, and apparently no one else has ever come up with that. I haven't seen that or heard of that from any players. No one's ever heard of a Dwelf. I mean, Bluddworth, have you ever heard of the combination of elf and dwarf?
I think before? I have actually.
Okay.
But I think it came out of. I mean, it might have just been mentioned recently as they were as Wizards of the Coast was getting away from half races. because they, because they're problematic.
Oh, sure.
But I've always considered, like, the half elf, the other half doesn't always have to be human. And I've actually made a character that was half elf and half halfling, and
Oh, well, there you go.
was so it's a it's something that has been mentioned before. So you can have different half creatures and that kind of
Sure.
thing. I mean, you have tieflings that are half human, half demon.
Right.
I don't know if they're like the half human part. I think should be something possible, other than just humans.
Oh, sure. Well, we've got 8 playable species: elf, dwarf,
Mhm.
gnome, dwelf, human, of course.
Mhm.
And then we came up with what we call the half elf is Noggle. It's a half elf, but even our half elves and our dwarves and elves, they're not the standard D&D dwarf. Dwarves, for instance, are very densely made, not stupid, but dense, as in physically dense, and they only take half damage from anything, and they heal. Instead of a daily healing rate, it's an hourly healing rate. So they have it's almost like a troll-like quality. We have what we call Kel, and we were trying to come up with something kind of originally to like replace like the drow, and I came up with Kel, and then we kind of tweaked that here and there, and they just kind of became their own thing. They don't have any hair. They're very magical, like elves are, but they've got more like a the shape of their head is more like the elves from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, as Bill pointed out when we were trying to figure out how to draw one. And then Tomty. Everybody likes they like the halfling or the kender. So we wanted something to kind of fit into that role, but not have it a halfling. We came up with a Tomty. They're highly magical resistant, but they can't cast spells. And no, we don't have a domestic cat breed.
No, I've heard of dwarf was a domestic cat breed.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up afterwards.
Those are the 8. Yeah, right. Me too.
Yeah.
The monsters, like Bill mentioned before, the orcs and goblins and hobgoblins, they're not your standard trophy monsters. They're not the Tolkien-like orcs or the D&D-like orcs. They're more bestial. They're not humanized. They are irredeemable. They are monsters. So
okay. To answer this question here, L, I mean, skeletons, a version of was the undead version of goblins, common, low level. Well, yeah, I mean they were small. They were the undead version of the small bite-sized packet of XP. Basically.
Right.
But to this question here that L brings up is that yes, there are other variants of skeletons.
Yes.
I've seen giant skeletons and ogre skeletons, and same thing goes for zombies. Like I've seen monstrous zombies before, and you can do anything. Yeah, I mean it doesn't take very much to even conceptually it takes nothing to do that. Yeah.
Right. There are, and in the creatures and coins, and of course in the Caldwell edition, we broke the creatures and coins book into 2 books because we have so many more monsters now, thanks to Ron.
Right.
So all the monsters get their own book, Monster Mayhem, and in that book, anyway, the undead, there is a section in there that details the different variant racial skeletons, whether it's a dwarf or a human or a Tomty or what have you. So they will have different strengths and whatnot, depending on their species.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what else. What else we have here? So
I have
So
a couple
overall- oh, go
images
ahead.
I had a couple images of the kill pulled up.
oh, let's
If
see.
you want to. So here's is the male, and he's a spellcaster, obviously. And then let's see if I can put these together on the same screen. We have the female tail here using a polearm.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
it's actually the glaive. And
Yeah.
I imagine that, since they do have like a pretty pronounced skull, that
Mhm.
there would be, something you could tie with that. Like, say, different castes or different levels of society or different roles would wear different adornment based on what their abilities were. So I think she's a warrior. She's wearing like a padded leather with a medallion right above in her brow or right above her forehead that would resemble either maybe a rank or station. And then she's kind of in an underground dungeoneering sort of area. And then the male's I'm still working on. I was pondering and playing around with different ideas for adornment for his head, like a oh my gosh, like a circlet was one idea to go with it, or even just maybe he's more of a mentat, so his wouldn't have anything or anything, just keep it clean. And then I need to play around a little bit and put his background in, but these two will be in the book. So that gives you an idea what they're about elf height. They run, I think, like 5 feet was the max. It's like somewhere. So if that's right, Andy, like 3.5 to 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's looking really good too. Yeah.
And then the Tom T, I know those are people are pretty familiar with the hobbits, but go here. Open this up and show you just a group of them traveling in underground. So they also proportion. If you see the legs are shorter proportionately versus the kill.
Right.
Heads are a little larger. They have kind of more of a bulbous nose. Some of those classic features, but they are wearing shoes. They are different on their feet. The feet are so. Yeah, this is just a few more images for the books for people to take a look at.
Yeah. So that's really awesome. So getting back to the question, so the skills, how are the skills broken down, like skill categories?
Well, we have 30 of them, right, Dave? And
Yep.
what we did and we might add to those in the new edition. Part of the big part that's going to take so long is the artwork, because Bill can't just whip all these pictures off that we need hundreds of, in a week. So that's, we're giving ourselves a year to deliver this product to the people. But we do have a product. So. Right.
But he promised to be ready tomorrow.
That's right. We have that. It's recorded.
It's going to cost a little more because I got to call in sick. So.
But I mean, we do have the product available, so the core components aren't going to change. You can get that game right now,
right?
But we might increase the skills. But right now we've got 30 skills. We got riding, land-based, airborne riding. You've got tracking. Just what we narrowed it down to the 30 most basic skills that we figured players would use the most of.
Right.
And then of course there's more than 30. You could certainly expand that in the next edition, but that's what we've got right now, from acrobat to alchemist,
martial arts.
We've got martial arts and archery skill, so you can get really good at shooting things from a distance, and weaponsmith, and the basics,
Right.
mentalist, and if anybody, and that's the thing, some people they like their class. Well, if you want to be a bard, you can be a bard in Mystic Days.
Right.
There's no class that says bard. You just pick the skills that you pick.
You think, well,
and martial arts, and
that's
tracking.
actually
There you go.
tremendously. That's a much more interesting system. Allows you to kind of customize your characters to be, something that they're typically not seen as. So you could have a bard that's that's just a knight who can play a musical instrument,
Right.
just something,
Mhm.
and he or she may call themselves a bard, but really they have 90% of their skills are something different. They just happen to be able to
Right.
play a song or sing a song or do whatever.
Mhm.
There's a certain amount of creativity that the players have at their disposal when
Right.
you don't have a level archetype kind of a system.
Yep.
And the great thing about those is those systems are always very flexible anyway. I mean, that's where the game master rulings comes in, right? It's like, well, if you're going to ask to create a skill that isn't covered in the book, then all you have to do is assign like an attribute to it, and that becomes what makes sense, and that becomes a new skill. Correct? It's
pretty much.
So having 30 base skills is probably enough for a new player to pick up on, and as they develop their characters over time, they might think of some other things. Hey, I want to do basket weaving. What's involved with basket weaving now?
And since we don't have the classes or levels, you're only going to get at what you use. So it keeps you from, I want to do 20 different things. Well, no, you want to get good at anything, you're going to have to hone in on what you really want your character to be good at.
Right.
So you're only going to pick a few things probably to
excel in, right?
Yeah. And but it makes it nice. What was a thief? It used to be for the thief class, you couldn't use anything more than leather. You were really limited if you took that class. It shoeboxed you into just this little bit of stuff you can do and nothing else. And we didn't like that. Why can't a thief wear? If he wants to wear plate mail, he's not going to sneak in it.
Right.
If he's going to do that, he better go take it off and leave it by the tree. But
that's exactly right. There's other ways to basically skin a cat, and having a very structured class level system isn't necessarily one of them. It's whatever, like just like not having a Vancian magic system, where you have a certain number of spells that you can cast, and then you're pretty much done. It's as someone who has played a first level magic user with 2 hit points. And
we've all done that.
And fortunately, a high enough dexterity that I used my sling more than I was able to cast spells. And then I had a horrible DM that never would let us go into a town. So I basically had first level spells for the equivalent of like 3 levels. It's we just never went into a town, so I could never gain any new spells.
You
and
just cast
the
one a day, and that was
I would cast the one a day, and then I literally just stuck to my sling. I was like, all right, I'm slinging. My sling was doing more damage than than my magic missile anyway.
Right.
Until I actually threw myself off a cliff and killed my character.
I'm out of here.
I literally threw myself off a cliff. He was like,
that's one way to do it.
That's not a good way. Like he actually tried to warn me. He was like, that's going to be a really hard, grasp, because I was jumping across like a crevice to grab a hold of a vine. He was like, that's going to be really tough with you, to be able to pull that off. I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it anyway. And I was like,
Yeah.
please don't roll high. I was like, boom. I was like, no, you fell to your death. I was like, thank
darn.
God. I was like, no, roll up a fighter. It's
Right.
like,
That should
Bloodworth-
go in the routine. If you're a bad DM, if your players throw themselves off a cliff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And are happy for the roll.
Then you roll up a new fighter and you have 2 hit points again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
A
perfect.
constitution of 5,
Yeah.
and,
Well, Bluddworth,
Um,
if you play Mystic Days and you have the high enough scores in both wisdom and intelligence, you can cast spells. You have to. The rule is you have to, and this is a game master can do what they want with this, but the rule is that you have to find a mentor to teach you how to use magic first, and then once you have that, then you can cast some spells. And so you would be the equivalent of a first level spellcaster, but once you can cast spells, you can try any spell in the book, and we've got over 300 of them. And
Wow.
you can make it as powerful as you want. But the risk is you're going to have a very low die to roll with against that magic
Right.
die.
Right.
But in a pinch, you might have to. It might be the crux of the adventure, and everybody's going to die if you don't do something. And the reward is, you win. The risk is great, but isn't that what role-playing games thrive on?
Yeah. Well, that's what makes it a heroic fantasy, right?
Right.
It wouldn't be
Right.
heroic if there wasn't high risk involved with it. So I will take a look at this one question here. Or limiting initial skills in core means you can sell 10 skill books later for repeat customers. I don't think
That's not the goal.
Yeah, yeah. I think the splat book era is kind of over, and
Yes.
and it doesn't go over too well with modern gamers anymore. I mean,
No.
That literally would have, even though I didn't play second edition at the time. I didn't get my second edition collection until within the last 4 years or so.
Okay.
As 18, 19-year-old, when that first came out, I would have never bought into second edition with all those splat books. And I've heard that third edition is even worse.
Yeah.
As far as splat books are concerned. I would have never had the income to buy all of that stuff back then. I was like, even now it was still like, I'm a completionist. So once I started buying second edition, I was like, I got to try to get everything I can, or at least the things that I thought, might actually use. And, it's, splat books is not the way to go.
No.
Not our intention to do that at all.
No,
Yeah.
so these 3 books, if people go to mysticdays.com, they can buy this and they've got a game for life. That was our goal. And so that's the same goal with the Caldwell edition. It's just we're adding content to it, but you don't need that to play Mystic Days. But you will need it to get Ron's script. New creatures, and you'll need it to get William Hart's art and Clyde's art, of course. And we're going to streamline some things. But the core is the core. What we've talked about today is coming right out of the white books. So the Caldwell edition is going to be 4 books. If you want to buy those, then you got a game to last you the rest of your life. And we don't want to keep writing rule books. We want to write adventures. That's what we want to do. And so that's our goal.
Yeah. And great segue too. So if someone wants to write adventures for Mystic Days, do you have that kind of a thing set up? Do you have your gaming license for third-party creators to write for Mystic Days? Products for use with Mystic Days?
Yeah, we're working on that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not real fond of the orc license at all, and obviously the OGL was a big to do. So we want the community to be able to write adventures and stuff, because if they write adventures, we sell rule books. And we don't want to micromanage that. So
Nope.
we just got to come up with something that works for everybody. And we haven't quite gotten there yet, but I know there's some other people working on the guy that does Roll of Law. He's working on an ELF license, what he
Right.
calls
Oh,
it.
really? Yeah. Yeah. There's others
so
out there.
I'd be
It's not
interested
just
to
Orc.
see that.
But
I mean, Troll Lord Games came out with one. They actually came out with
Right.
theirs before Orc was even
okay.
a thing yet. They actually came out with like 3 days after the OGL crisis. They
Oh.
basically rolled out their own,
Okay.
and they
Okay.
were like, "You can just
Yeah.
do this." Others were like, "We're Creative Commons anyway." Like they
Right.
they didn't so much worry about it at all because they had always been Creative Commons. Most European publishers were Creative Commons to begin with.
Okay.
Mhm.
So they didn't have to bother it. And a lot of publishers out there only put in the OGL, not that their game had that much connection to it. Castles and Crusades is another,
Mhm.
version of that. They
Right.
said, we just put that in there because TSR was so litigious to begin with, and Wizards of the Coast is not any different. That we
Right.
just put it in there just to
Right.
cover our cover our butts. But for the most part, our game is not that connected to the terminology and the nomenclature and the licensed wording. I mean, sure, they had to change a few things here and there, but nothing based on
Right.
their rules because rules couldn't be copyright written anyway.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but it's good to hear that there's, because I like to write adventures as well, and so, that's the only thing that I actually, have published is just a few adventures for this or that, game system. And it's, it's nice to hear that there might be other opportunities with other companies to actually start, other publishers to actually start publishing, for them as well, or using their, for use with, or however the term you have to use for it,
Right.
for use with, and then you can roll with that. So that's good to hear. It's good to
Yeah.
hear that at least is something you're thinking about. So that people can create that content, because like you said, that's those rule books. I mean,
Right.
that's the
Right.
bottom line. And I
Yeah, we
mean,
don't
even
wanna-
Wizards,
Yeah.
yeah,
We
I
don't
was
want to
gonna say,
pocket money out of somebody else's work.
right.
That
Even
said, we're not out to do anything like that.
yeah, even Wizards of the Coast have actually admitted that, their top sellers are still their core rule books. It's like
Mhm.
none of their other stuff really sells all that great. It's
Mhm.
their core rule books are still their top sellers. And that's because people are buying that. They're creating other stuff. They don't need your supplemental.
Right.
And
all the
they're
good stuff has been third-party
Right.
content creators. Has been all
You
the
know.
good stuff that's come along.
Yeah.
If
And
it wasn't for
I
them,
don't
Wizards of the
yeah.
Coast would be in trouble.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, they
Yeah.
would have folded a long time ago.
Yes. Yeah.
They would have folded a long time ago. They would have never gotten through 2020 through 22.
Yeah.
They would have never gotten through that without third party. They would have a hard time getting through the first 5 years without third party content coming out, because they really weren't churning out all that much, and they and the quality is still not quite there. And the thing is that game masters have been producing their own adventures from the very beginning. I mean,
Right.
very few people are solely module running game masters. I think that that's very, very few. And even if people use modules, they usually just use their maps, which is the hardest thing to actually create. That they're using their maps and their, maybe some bare bones ideas from it, and then the rest are just converting to their own thing anyway. So so I think that it's a good way to go, is to say, no, we're looking to sell core rule books and adventures of our own later on, and people are welcome to keep on buying our core rule books and making their own stuff as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. let's see. So unlike the OSR that get abandoned, this game plans minimal. No, why would you think minimal support? It means minimal intrusiveness, right?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, we don't want to
not
tell
sure I
people
understand
what
the
they
question.
can write.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
understand that question, but I don't think that I think it's drawing the wrong conclusion from what was said. There's not minimal support. If you create a game system that is, pretty solid and evergreen as as you explained it, right?
Mhm.
That, that's not minimal support. That's maximizing your freedom to create your own stuff off the core. It's I don't know. I didn't understand it either.
I guess we're not making the rules and just walking away from them, but we don't plan on popping out a new rule set every 3 years, now you need to buy this
Yeah.
new rule and this
Yeah.
new rule. We don't want to do that. That's
Yeah.
what home brewing's all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, if you want to play Mystic Days, you can buy Mystic Days right now, and you don't have to buy the Caldwell edition, and you have a Mystic Days game that you can have for the rest of your life. But we got the opportunity to put a game out there last year, and we took it. We said let's just do it, and we kind of did it in the spirit of the old white box. I mean, you remember the old white box? They didn't have a finished set of rules at all. I mean, it was very piecemeal, and you had to have chainmail to go along with it if you're going to fight things.
Right.
This is actually a finished system, but we're adding to it. We're adding content to it. But like I said before, the core system is not changing. We're going to streamline some things and simplify some things, but and obviously add a lot of great artwork and great new monsters. But when we get this edition done, 5 years from now, we're not going to have, you have to have this new edition to play Mystic Days. That's never that's never going to happen.
That sounds good. Right.
Yeah.
So Shy Cookie, welcome, by the way. I've never seen you before on the channel. So
hey,
welcome to the channel. And
we would love to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
The next big thing. That would be a lot of fun. But again,
as long as it's not the meme, right? The next big thing. I'm waiting for the next big thing meme.
Right.
But, yeah.
Dave and I are just a couple of turtles on a fence post. We had help getting up here. And so we're never going to view ourselves as the next big thing, even if we make a gazillion dollars doing this. There's just all kinds of people like Bill and Ron and Cully and Vic and Rob, Richie, and our wives. Oh my God, our wives put up with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a long list of people holding us up.
Yeah.
And we want to be successful? Absolutely. But with that success, we want to bring more success to everybody else involved. And that includes third-party people out there writing adventures to their heart's content and making money on Mystic Days. So that's our goal.
So now we got the other four of us. We can all leave and just leave it the Bill show.
Yes, there we go.
The Bill show now,
Bill's got a fan club. Well, that's not easy to imagine. He's pretty awesome.
I'm actually, when I figured out I'm going to get a page up on a website that I want people that if they create new magic spells or new monsters, I can throw them up there for everybody to just come and grab and
oh, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah,
that would be
people make some stuff up for us, get the creative juices flowing.
Now I know because I have to look it up now. So going back to Flipping and Turning, right? That was the magazine.
Yes. Yeah.
So are you going to be working with them to do some one shots or that kind of thing as well, like working with them to generate some stuff for Mystic Days?
We haven't talked to Rob about that specifically. Flipping and Turning is more geared to first edition.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would really reach the crowd we wanted to. It'd kind of be Rob's call, but we'd love to put something in there if he was game for that.
One thing he does, though, in recent issues also, he's had a section, it's not in every issue, but they do reviews of other games. So that may be something, if you know somebody who could give a thorough, comprehensive, but relatively brief couple pages, a few 100-word review of the game and how it's played and how it differs from first edition, I'm sure he wouldn't have any problem putting that in there.
Well, Rob actually did that for our first Kickstarter. He put a review in issue number 8 of Flipping and Turning.
Oh, did he? Okay.
About Mystic Days, yeah. So we will be on the back cover. He gave us the back cover of his next issue. So
nice.
Go out there and get Flipping and Turning. If you like the old Dragon magazines and Dungeon magazines, you're gonna love Flipping and Turning.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did I send you a link to that?
No, you didn't. But what I'll do is, if you in the private chat, if you can just give me links to everything, like if you all have pages and Flipping and Turning as well. I know I will put up Ron's book from Amazon that I saw. I have the link for that. So
awesome.
William, if you have a page to look at your art, we'll definitely put that out there too. So I will attach everything to a comment section of this once. This goes into 2 different stages on YouTube. So it's streaming live directly to YouTube and Twitter as well. Okay. All right. And then several hours afterwards, then it becomes resident on YouTube as well. And then I can, new people can come in and add new comments to it. Plus they'll be able to see these comments. It usually takes about 8 to 12 hours for that to be done. And then I can post a comment in there and pin it that will have all of these other links that go along with it. So that's where I could put in, your name and the link and, and advertise it that way. That way people get to see all of your other projects and everything. Yeah. And then, a little over a week from now, when that Kickstarter hits, I'll be right back to pushing the Kickstarter. And, the only thing I keep on making this mistake when I do a video showcasing a Kickstarter and I put your little video up that usually goes with most Kickstarters where they do that introductory, and I get a freaking copyright slam for the music. It's like Jesus Christ. I was like, it's not the creators that is doing it. It's the music that is attached to when you do your promo videos.
Oh, okay.
That always gets a copyright strike. I was like, damn, you would think that they wouldn't mind you promoting their product and not getting slammed with a copyright. So that's the only thing I won't be able to do. But I'll certainly go through and scroll right through piece by piece and go over, the whole Kickstarter project and show the different, stretch goals. Actually, that's something we haven't mentioned yet. I don't know if you want to talk about possible stretch goals or that kind of thing, or is it a little too soon?
We're still in process of finalizing all of those things. What we've got on the Kickstarter page that people can see right now is we've got some tiers listed there, and the individual books and some bundles that you can get. We don't have any stretch goals listed yet, so that it's still a work in progress, and there's still a lot of artwork that we've got to put up. What you see right now is a rough draft of it, really, but it at least gives you an idea of what we're doing and what we're aiming at and where we're going with it. But we're even going to have T-shirts and posters and mugs on there eventually. So we'd like to even have miniatures, but I don't think we're going to hit that this go around. But Dave, I will say Dave is working on a terrain project, and he's been working on that for about a year now almost. Yeah. And we want to come out with that around December, but it might get pushed back. But we'll just see how far along Dave can get. But we think we have a really, really cool terrain system that we're making, and Dave's at the head of that. So that's all we can say about that right now. But but when we bring that out, maybe we'll be able to bring some minis out too. So that would be
you
cool.
don't you don't want to put Dave on a timeline just yet, right?
No, not.
No, we only put Bill on timelines.
That's right.
All right. Yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm sure that other people, listening in, or the, more people will come on later on this evening and see it for the first time, and they should be really excited. I just cannot believe how much more is is being added to this, as far as just the expansion of monsters and the flexibility of the system, and the fact that you can create spells and magic items and potentially even skills and so on. There's just so much more to this system than I previously had really known about it. And so to hear all of that is really exciting. So let's see, too many niche magazines, Mad Scribe, and so many claiming. All right, let's see. We're talking about claiming the new dragon. Why new polyhedron? Because polyhedron destroyed itself. I mean, that's bottom line. Polyhedron destroyed itself, or what? Later on, it became polyhedron disappeared, and then it became like PC Gamer and what's that? A Polygon, which were all like gaming magazines and such that covered a variety of different things, and they all destroyed themselves. They just got away from talking about gaming and talking about other social content that was just not what most people were looking at them for. So it's good to see some of these some of these magazines and such coming back out again, and dabbling into these things. And none of them have to be big. I don't think any of them are going to rise to the level of where Dragon was. I mean, even Dungeon magazine. Yeah, even Dungeon magazine, and later on Gygax magazine. I mean, you had all these that, but people are fine with these small little boutique, role-playing game magazines out there. I don't think anybody is going to anyone is going to match up with that and become like an industry standard kind of thing. Even in computer gaming, PC Gamer is nowhere near what it used to be.
Their publishing is not.
There's just nobody buys those things anymore. Yeah. It's like once they went digital, they kind of disappeared. And there was a time when you were crazy not to get a PC Gamer, because it would come with a DVD usually of the a sample demo games and stuff like that. It was like for like an extra $3 you'd get a playable game. It was like it was a no-brainer to buy that. So anyway, yes, there's someone bringing up Ernie Gygax. So yes, Ernie is at the hospital. Yes, so he is at the hospital. I read a post about that earlier. Oh yeah, no, he's not doing well, but they moved him to the hospital now, and from where he originally was. So so hopefully he recovers and he'll be fine. But yeah, it's the people, including ourselves, we're not getting any younger, right? And all of these individuals, that we looked up to as kids, in the hobby, I mean, I go back as far as 1977 with the hobby. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so most of those people around, they're pushing into their their 70s, late 70s. And we're just not as young as we used to be. So it's it's time to
Make
know,
sure to
keep
spend your time, doing
Yeah.
quality things like playing Mystic
Yes.
Days
yes, yes, and
with your family.
yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, if you can, get your family involved and your
Yeah.
friends and your, it's all about, coming to a table or even, virtually, if that's where, myself,
Mhm.
completely virtually with all of my group of friends now. And, it's about coming together and having a good time and, rolling dice and,
Mhm.
you know, playing a game, learning about it, modifying it as you need to, being creative yourself, with what you're doing at your own table and sampling other game systems out there as well. Because I've always been an advocate and, of saying, you should not only be playing one game.
Mhm. Right.
You should not be only
Right.
playing with just one group of people,
Right.
or in just one mode and everything. You should be getting out there and trying all different things and all different genres and just expanding. There is so much in this hobby that you can experience. Why would you want to limit yourself to just one thing, one company, one genre?
Well,
It's
unless
just
it's
huge.
Mystic Days.
Unless it's
Right.
Mystic Days. If you want to completely devote yourself to Mystic Days,
Right.
you
That's
know,
right. We're
yeah,
cool with that.
yeah. If you want to rent a spare room in Andy's house and just live off of his game,
There you go. Come on down.
yeah, yeah. Come on down. So conventions. Let's hear about some conventions that you guys are going to do. I probably within the next 6 months, right? Because you're probably
Okay.
not much further beyond that.
Yeah. So Grand Con is coming up in Grand Rapids, and that's September 1st,
Mhm.
2nd, and 3rd. And so that's coming right. That's the holiday
Labor Day
weekend coming
weekend.
up.
Yeah.
That's Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was going to say
Yeah.
that's a
Yes.
weekend.
Yes.
that's a
Right.
big weekend. Yeah.
Right. So, but it's a great convention, and so come on out if you're in the area. Say hi to us, and you might even get a chance to play with us. But depending on how the Kickstarter goes, if it flops and drops, then we won't probably be going to GrogCon at the end of September, and that's down in Orlando. But that's our plan. Our plan is this is going to hit and be at least as successful as we need it to be to get down to GrogCon. So GrogCon is our next adventure in conventions, and that's down in Orlando. And I think that's is it September 30th or October 1st, the first day of it?
The 30th, the Friday.
30,
September
yes.
30th.
Yep,
Right.
30th through October 2nd.
Right.
So that's our plan. But, plans can change. Man plans his way. But we'll see how that goes. And then there's another convention coming up in Dayton, Ohio in November that we'd like to go to. And that's called a Catacon.
Catacon.
Outside of that, and I believe that's the first weekend of November. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And then in January, we're going to be out once again at EverCon,
Wisconsin.
And then we want to hit GaryCon. I hear all their tables are sold out, but we want to still get out there, and that's going to be in March. And then DaveCon at the end of April, and we have spoken with Professor Dungeon Master, and he has agreed to come out to DaveCon at the end of April. Yeah. And because he really wants to meet all those guys like, the godfather of gaming himself. Mm-hmm. And,
David
Wesley.
Mike
Carr.
Yeah. David Wesley, right? Yes.
And Mike Carr and all those guys, he'd like to meet them and play with them. And so he's going to be there. I don't know if he's going to run Deathbringer. I think he's just coming out to hang out. But outside of the end of next April, we don't have anything on the docket yet. Yeah.
So VentureCon and Big Geek Con, I like I said, I only go to local ones right now. So I have ShireCon in Connecticut, and that's in September. That's September 5th and 15th and 16th.
Okay.
And then Rising Phoenix Con, which was I mean, that was so good. About 300 people. So still a small con, but almost mid-sized.
Yeah.
Very, very good coverage. That was in Milton, Massachusetts. That was a really good con. I'm definitely going to that one again. Ohio might be possible for me. Like Ohio could be a 10-hour drive. I think I could pull that off in one drive. I have to see.
Just take a couple of breaks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't mind taking breaks. I just, if I have to sleep overnight someplace, then it becomes like a whole week worth of
Right.
hotel rooms.
Right.
But yeah, that might be a possibility. I know there's some, like I know Frank Metzner is going to one in Philadelphia.
Oh, really?
It's just that yeah, it's one of the, it's not like PAX East or the Philly Con. I forget what it's called, but he's going to one in January, I believe, where he's running games. I would love to go there. It's just that Philly is just like the only hotels were like around the area, and you'd have to walk or do whatever to get there. And that was like, it's
kind
of
of a drawback.
Yeah. Philly's not exactly safe to, walking around at night.
Right.
That kind of a distance, like 5 miles away, from the thing. It's like, I don't know. But it's a possibility I could go to that one. But this one here, Catacon, that might be a possibility. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think that
good
was
con.
actually our first con we went to once
Mhm.
we started doing these rules, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The first con you and I went to together was CincyCon, but we didn't have our rules
Cincy Con,
really
that's
together.
right. Cincy
Yeah.
Con.
And
Yes.
we didn't have anything. We didn't have our business name copyright and all that kind of stuff.
Nothing,
So
right?
Yeah.
we just kind of went and hung out. But that was a good convention.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Ron, your Ron's old school compendium, does it have the stuff that you sent recently in it?
Yes.
It
Yeah,
does. So it's updated.
I've done an updated version that has every single thing in. I've also got it in a hardback now for 25 and a paperback
Well,
for 20.
Very cool, because I just ordered the hard copy today, so I'm looking forward to getting that.
Yeah.
I'll have that by the 25th, so I'm going to bring that to Grand Con and show people. But if you're into first edition, or you just like new monsters and you want to convert them to your system, you want to get Ron's book.
Yep, definitely look into that as well. And like I said, if you put in all those links in the private chat here, and or just email them. Actually, email them to me. That'll be better.
Email them to you.
Yeah, so email them all to me. That way, I can just do a simple cut and paste and do it that way. Because I think I lose the private chat once we shut this thing down too, until it eventually becomes permanent as well.
Okay. So Bill, are you working on something? Looks like you're drawing.
Yeah, I have been. I've just been.
Can we see?
Working.
Can we show the world?
The man is a machine.
All right.
Before we leave, can we show him one last thing that he might be?
Let's let's see one last thing. All right. So you just let me know when you want me to hit go, and I will wait till you're ready.
Yeah, I just had a lot of things open, but no, sure, come on
in. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
So here we go.
I just did one piece I was working on was I had the spellcaster I rushed out here. And it was just sizing him and making on the main page and seeing if this is the pose that's going to work and putting him in into play.
I assume he's getting attacked by something. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was getting grabbed, right?
You're right.
From the wall or something from that corner or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well,
so it's kind of. I know it's a little hard to differentiate here, but I guess I could always change some of the colors on these. So the monster will be reaching over him. So this is the arm in the foreground is going to get lost behind the monster. And I'm just checking out some of the positioning on this arm, because actually what I'm going to have him do is like, he's going to be throwing his spell book in the air. Just like it came in and pulled his arms apart.
Right.
And then I'll get into the gore and that kind of part later. But it's going to be something. You won't really be able to walk off. You can't just take a lap and be okay.
Right.
So
Right. No long rest is going to heal that.
Yeah.
No, but it's going to be kind of funny because, well, not funny, but in a way, it's like whenever a typical marching order, people usually forget to watch their back, and the spellcaster's hanging back. The spellcaster hung and back. He's gone. He's out of.
It didn't pay off.
He's gone. Yeah.
Bad strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so this scene when Bill came up with the idea for this scene, and so him and I were talking through it, and one thing we kind of came up with together was that this back alleyway is the way back to the wine barrels or the ale,
the ale house. Yeah.
and right, the ale house, and so the guy in the background there, the shadow, was probably a guy that he came to get a barrel for the tavern, because they would keep them open in medieval times. They would keep the warehouse open so that the different tavern owners could send somebody to get another barrel or a cask or whatever. And who better than dwarves to be running a warehouse? And they just happened to get caught under the full moon, and so they turned into these Vertragen, and now they're just attacking everybody that just wants to have a good time.
Yeah. There you go.
And if that spellcaster happened to have some harness energy he was holding, it could be really ugly for the party right there.
Yes. Maybe he could end up inadvertently zapping a gnome to build up your reputation of being a gnome killer.
Right.
Yeah.
The gnome dies again.
I could, have it. I mean, there's a lot you could do with it.
Oh, yeah.
Say too much, because every idea is another 3 hours.
Well, right. So yes.
Don't go
what
there.
we got.
Yes. Yeah. Don't go there.
That's awesome, Bill. That is just freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
this is why we pay him $5 an hour.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus tips.
My kid.
You're getting 5.
But I don't think we mentioned it yet. We do have a quick start on our website and on the Kickstarter that they can go down. It's a PDF download. It's a little adventure, and it's really something that will get everybody familiar with the mechanics. It's designed where you're going to be using all the mechanics in that, and you're probably not going to live. You're probably going to have to go through it a few times, but that's what's fun about it.
Yeah.
Right. And 3 of the 6 or 7 monsters that are listed in it are Ron's. So you'll get introduced to some of Ron's creations.
Cool. And I actually will, once I've read through them and everything, I'll actually, within a couple of days or so, I'll actually go through that Kickstarter, through the quick start sometime this week. I'll go through each of the 2 books, and I'll start covering that. And I'll be able to, on that format, because I use a different program, I'll be able to show off some of the art, the Caldwell art that's going to be included, plus anything else that you've already sent me. So I'll be able to go over that and actually start covering that. Like I said, I'm looking to lead into September 1st, full steam on it. And then once it comes out on September 1st, I will highlight again the Kickstarter itself. Awesome. And go through it and talk about each of the different things and I'll be able to show this is where I backed it. Won't actually be able to do the backing on there because they give out too much freaking information when
All
you're
right.
actually doing the purchase online. So yeah, but I will, I will definitely show that, this is what I backed and this is why. This is what I'm looking to, get out of this, and it really does look at. I haven't looked at the Kickstarter since what you shared to me now, so I don't know what's public right now, but but on the version you showed me, it looks really, really good. So I'm sure that it'll be equally well once they start to see it on the first or possibly before then.
Mm-hmm.
So
And just
cool.
remember, there's only 25 signed boxes by
Yeah.
Clyde, though. So
Yes.
if you're looking to get into one of those, you'll want to get in quicker on it.
Yeah, you want to get in quick.
Well,
Yeah.
I should say there will be 27,
Right.
Mhm.
but there's only 25 available because it's in the agreement that Clyde gets 2 of them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Oh, he gets to. All right.
Yeah.
So
if he would have asked for more, we would have given.
Right.
yeah. So all right. Gentlemen, let's bring you all back in here. I almost
right.
removed the wrong William Hurt. I almost kicked out William.
Oh, gosh, don't do that.
I would have left his art going and
Right.
he didn't
Right.
kicked off. So gentlemen, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Love to hear about this this upcoming project and Kickstarter, and I have no doubt it's going to do well. And William gained a new fan it's here, so and really excited about it. So thanks for coming on. It was good to see 2 of you a second time now. So Dave and Andy, always a pleasure, and Ron and William, pleasure to meet you guys. And
thank you. Thank you.
You know,
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on, and I hope that everyone everyone viewing enjoyed this, and I will filter back to you all with any other comments and everything, or you'll be able to watch it and see the comments that come afterwards, because it's usually when these things pick up a lot of steam is when when it's been finalized, and then they can start looking at stuff. So all right, you all have a great rest of the today's Sunday. So I was going to say, have a great, as a retiree, sometimes I forget, I apologize. It's like, I lose track of days, plus it's the summertime. So it's, yeah. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday and your upcoming week, everyone. And, as always, I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen or in person at a convention sometime soon. And gentlemen, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Bluddworth. It was an honor.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me end this here.